democratic experiment going? Surprised to see you again after we kicked your ass. You were a British colony. Technically, we kicked our own ass. Anyway, everything's great here. How's the wife? She died in childbirth, but I guess that's a thing of the past. No, a lot of states just banned abortions. Assuming you still have your guns to stop the government from taking over? Oh yeah, and they can shoot 300 rounds a minute now. Blimey, you need those against the government? No, mainly just school children and large groups of people we disagree with. How's the all men are created equal going? We're currently unsure what a man is. Excuse me? And we just made it legal to discriminate against homosexuals. Did I miss a chapter? The Supreme Court are doing their best to keep black people oppressed. Equal must mean something different now. How's living with the natives? We quickly killed them all, stole their land, and celebrate every year by blowing our fingers off with gas station fireworks. Well, a child must be in charge. Nope, Joe Biden. The same Joe Biden I know? Yep, still the best country in the world, though millions of people want to move here every year. Why? It sounds awful. That's cause the rest of the world is worse.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. Thank you for joining me here for Conversations with Taz for Talk About It Tuesday. Tonight's guest, unfortunately, is under the weather, but as soon as she feels well, we are going to continue the conversation that we started last week. But today, I still have information. I still have historical fact for y'all, and I still have a good time. So I hope you have a beverage and you have a snack, and we're ready to get things rolling. Oh, yeah. Happy White People Vote Day. I said what I said. So let's jump right into it with this video. This was sent to me and I have no idea how else to fit it into the week. So why not kickstart the week with it? It is a Reddit video. And I did peruse the parameters of the comment section. The dating pool is full of shit and piss. Because if you think this is a flex, get a journal and get a therapist like 2 weeks ago. Here we go.
My wife was in a coma and I read her diary for comfort. I wish I never had. My wife was in a bad accident a few months ago that resulted in her being in an 8-day coma. Obviously, when she went into the coma, no one knew at the time how long it was going to last. I was envisioning months, if not years, before she would ever wake up. If she ever did, it truly felt like I had lost her already. I was destroyed with grief and the weight of all the uncertainty. Every day that passed with no good news further plunged me into despair. We have been married for 10 years. We have traveled the world together. We are truly each other's best friend. I was seriously considering the worst things if they told us she would never wake up. One night, I was in our bedroom and really going through it. It was probably the 5th or 6th day. I was emotionally and physically exhausted and drained from it all. Another day of no good news. I was laying on her side of the bed because it still smelled like her and it was comforting to me. She used to put on lotion at night before we got into bed, so I opened her nightstand drawer to get the bottle and saw her diary there. I have never gone through her things or her diary before, but that night I just wanted some piece of her. I don't know why I didn't just reread our old texts or something. I wasn't really thinking too logically. It's not an excuse, but it is what it is. I began to read her diary. She didn't write every day, so sometimes entries could be days or months apart. This diary was started about 3 years ago. Very quickly I realized that almost all of the entries were angry ones. Angry about female friends or social media followers. Long paragraphs about how they were homewreckers and ugly/talentless/whatever negative trait. She would become furious if a woman followed me on social media or if we ran into a friend in real life. She wrote pages about these women and how she wanted them to die or have their lives destroyed. She was angry that I, quote, basked in all the attention and didn't remove female followers online. She was angry if a woman followed me and didn't also immediately follow her account because, quote again, we are a package deal, not that they know any decency to respect that. She wrote long rants about how women know the nuances of social media interactions and this somehow proved for certain that they wanted me and were actively trying to disrespect our relationship by only following me and not her. I need to stress that none of the women she was angry about have ever messaged me inappropriately or acted in any way besides a friendly manner towards me. These were high school or hometown friends mostly. A big common element many of them had was knowing or being friends with exes of mine. She raged on about how I should not be allowing them to glimpse into our lives, and she suspected they were reporting back to my exes. To be honest with you, the entries were very unhinged and angry. Then I read some entries about how she had messaged some of them from secret accounts. I am summarizing here, but basically over the course of 12 years she has messaged and harassed several women and subtly accused them of trying to sleep with me or disrespect our relationship. She pretended to be an anonymous person from our hometown and would tell them things like she's heard rumors they're homewreckers and just weird manipulative shit that would result in the person deleting me without ever telling me why. Like years of this. Any new person who added me and not her was immediately a problem, and she made sure they knew it somehow in a way that would never blow back on her but still got them away from me. So much made sense. Friends who had ghosted me over the years. People who blocked me. People who didn't say hi in public anymore. It's not like hundreds of people, but definitely 10 to 15 who I just never understood what happened. I would mention these things to her and she would seem comforting and try to reassure me and then ask innocently if maybe they had a thing for me. Always non-threateningly. Always saying something like, yeah, I've had some guy friends who did that. It turned out they were jealous of our relationship. I had to cut them off. It's just not appropriate to have them around knowing their intentions were not purely platonic. I never suspected anything. I effing accepted everything she told me as plausible and even thought to myself how graceful she was in light of it. I'm not even covering half the stuff in the diary. Just blatant manipulations of other people in their lives. People she got fired by digging up dirt on them and sending it to their jobs. There were some normal entries. Basically things like trips we took and how much she loves me. Absolute night and day. She woke up from the coma days later, but had some mobility issues that are now mostly hammered out. I couldn't do anything. For months I've had to be the supportive, loving husband she knew before the accident. I've supported her through her entire recovery. I have had to act like I don't know any of this. All the while living with dread whenever someone adds me. I immediately remove them as a follower. I don't know where to go from here. If I'll ever actually confront her. I would like to think I'd have the stones to do it, but honestly, I doubt it. Thanks for listening.
Because she's crazy and you don't know how she's going to react to you. But in the comment section, there were so many people, male, female, non-binary, etc., going, oh, she's a keeper. With today's climate, no, that is unhinged. That is crazy. That is insane. My first encounter with someone like this is many years ago in my 20s. I took a job at a company that my mom worked for. Wonderful, wonderful company. There was a mother-daughter duo. And there were some older Black women that were in this group as well. And it was like my first or second night on the night shift working with them. So since it was working at night, and I have a lot of anxiety about being out late at night, even though I was in a building, I was like, let me get friendly with some people as a just in case something happens. For a solid week at lunch, the daughter would talk about how crazy and how jealous and how controlling and just how toxic her boyfriend / the father of her children were. Mind you, I believe they had 5 children together at this time. No proposal, no nothing. And the mother was like, I wish somebody loved me like that. And I'm sitting there thinking, and I'm looking at the 2 older Black ladies like, this ain't normal. And then, and I've told this story before, I was even more riddled with anxiety because I'm like, I'm generally the person that would go and meet the deliveries or, call older relatives to do a lunch drop off with us. And I'm like, one of these 2 ladies like to go to the door with me. If he was sitting outside just watching, he might think that I'm trying to encourage them to do that. Then fast forward a good 15 to 17 years, I ended up in a relationship with someone who did that. Like we exchanged social media passwords because at the time I was going through a lot of health issues and I'm like, okay, can you keep up with stuff? And my business was really starting to take off after relaunching after the passing of my mother. This fool was going through blocking people that I had active accounts with, blocking male family members. Like, oh, there's no way you could have that many family members. That is not a flex. That's psychotic. That is abuse. Sir, you're a victim. And can we please stop with, well, women understand the nuance of social media. Who said liking someone's content meant that you were flirting? That shows the intent of certain people. See, you're telling on yourself. If I like your content, it does not mean I want to date you. If you post a spectacular picture of yourself, the lighting is on point, the hair is on point, the outfit is on point. Yes, I'm going to like it and go, yes, you did that. That don't mean I want you to slide into my DMs. And Sister Girl needs to understand, everybody doesn't know everybody's relationship status and everybody doesn't care. And I'm not saying doesn't care as they're just going to lurk in the shadows. Doesn't care as if they don't have any interest in this person. It was interesting content. We've been friends since high school. I'm glad to see that they're still above ground because in the days that we live in, you never know. But no, this is not a flex. And I wish I could say it was a generational thing, but going through the comment section, there were people of all ages. Like I'm Gen X. We came up with the evolution of the internet and of social media. It still boggles my mind the change and the level of toxicity that has happened since we had MySpace to the beginning of Facebook till now. Because MySpace was nothing but community. You really didn't have people beefing. It wasn't, no. We were sharing music, sharing interests, getting to know folks. I have real life friends now because of MySpace. I can pretty much go anywhere in the country and find someone I know personally because of MySpace. But no, that is not a flex. Oh yeah, I feel you. Woo. You know. Now, I don't know if y'all have Twitter or not, or heard about the breakdown of Twitter over the weekend. I had to hold on to this because I had to just keep an eye on the debacle that is Twitter. And yes, I will be on Twitter. I will be on Twitter like Rose was on the Titanic, okay? I'm going to be on that door because I need to see this ship sink. Because working in IT for as long as I have, I don't like a poser, and Elon Musk is a poser. Let's take a quick snippet at what's going on.
Okay, apparently Misc broke Twitter, and I love that for him. And I'm on Blue Sky. I was reading a thread, and I can't verify this. Whatever it is, it's forcing me to believe it. Apparently, Twitter didn't pay their bills for Google Cloud, thinking they could get away with it. The contract ended, and Twitter's screwed. As someone who has been part of a federal agency, they have been blacklisted by Google for not paying their bills. Google ain't afraid to have you eat bleep. So Twitter, as we know, doesn't pay his bills. Misc said he wouldn't pay his rent, he wouldn't do any of that. So apparently he didn't pay his Google Cloud, and right now the entire fucking site is trash. Now, some people said not the entire site is run through it or whatever, there's some other ones, but yeah, Misc is a fucking bum and doesn't pay his bills.
Okay, quick backstory. Some people don't know this, but myself and a former business partner, about a little over a decade ago, we co-owned a social media platform. We had servers of our own. We also rented out servers, etc. It takes multiple servers in order to host a social media platform. Now, we had features that Twitter really doesn't provide for people. So I am taking that into account. But have y'all noticed a pattern? Billionaires, and I've broken this down to y'all: old money, new money, no money. Old money hates paying bills. Old money will stretch it out till forever. But as we've seen with OceanGate, that's the name of the company, y'all, not the name of the scandal, they will blow big money on the dumbest stuff. You cannot play with Google in any form or fashion. You don't play with them. You don't pay them. Google is quicker to cut you off than a utility service, okay? And if you don't have all of your servers running, you have big problems. And remember, the only form of income Twitter has right now are ads. And they don't even have as many ads that they had at the beginning when Elon Musk decided to throw his weight around and purchase Twitter through online bullying. And he's banking on people's ignorance regarding technology. Like, oh, we're going to limit your views because of this, that, and the other. No, he doesn't have a choice but to tell you that they're going to be limited. And they're not limited to the numbers that he says. This is why I held the story. Because what I'm going to do is I am known and good for sitting back and watching and having a tally pad. Some days it was drastically less. Some days it was more. He's just throwing numbers out. He's literally sticking his hand in the pot of spaghetti and throwing it up against the wall, but he forgot to turn the stove on. He always picks the wrong one. That's why Amber Heard ended up with those embryos. And him still paying bills for her. How embarrassing. Now, I know some of y'all are getting tired of me talking about the Ocean Gate Titan, but y'all also DM the hell out of me regarding all these hot takes, and I thought it imploded and exploded. We explained that. Well, how could there be human remains? Because you all think of everything so linear, so black and white. Human remains are not always skin, teeth, bone. Like the bolts that are in my legs. Should I explode and they find the bolts, that would be considered human remains. But don't believe me, just watch.
Why are they finding human remains when everyone said that they wouldn't? Personally, I think they're being kind of loose with their definition of human remains because it's not going to be any skin or muscle or bone. All of that stuff was turned into human gel. If you're a Dungeons and Dragons fan, it's basically a gelatinous cube. Or in the case of the Ocean Gate Instapot, it's a gelatinous sphere. But why am I so confident saying that? Well, here, this highlighted area is the carbon fiber hull. Now, this is 5 inches thick and it was overlaid a thinner layer of titanium. This seems to be the section that failed. It's also the people place, and that's the one place you don't want things to fail. The hull of the submersible is keeping this insane amount of water pressure away from the meat suits inside. At 5,000 feet, which isn't even halfway to Titanic's depth, there is 2,200 pounds per square inch of pressure. That's 150 atmospheres. That up there is what happened to a dummy made out of pig parts on Mythbusters when they exposed it to 135 psi. That's just 9 atmospheres. I'm pretty confident saying that all of the soft bits were shredded at the cellular level.
To shreds, you say?
And probably the hard bits too, because at those pressures, anything hard is actually soft. So then what exactly are they talking about here? In the crock pot of death, there are a lot of crevices, little nooks and crannies where some of that gel may have been injected at high pressure. However, I think it's far more likely that we're talking about like dental hardware, a filling, a bridge, maybe a gold tooth, something like that, very durable and not made out of humanish tissues. Another form of durable human remains is going to be something like a hip replacement because they might be made out of titanium or cobalt. Or something like a shoulder replacement. What I'm driving at here is something made out of metal that could be propelled at high velocity and become embedded on the inside of the submersible. What I can offer here is some good life advice. If you're ever a billionaire and you're going to go deep down in the ocean, it's not the time to save money or throw out the safety regulations.
Oh, well, pardon me, Mr. Perfect. I guess I forgot that you never ever make a mistake.
Well, you know, they paid to get into the Instapot of the pearly gates, the Instapot shuttle to the upper room. Or was that the downward Cupid shuffle? Y'all already know I'm going to hell, okay? Just know that I'm going to have snacks. Like I said, various corners, morticians, different physicians have come out and said, either the reason why they covered them with tarps before they lifted them high enough for pictures to be taken is because they weren't certain what would be found in them. This is new territory for the Coast Guard in our lifetime, because most people aren't. That's stupid. This is why I keep telling y'all, don't equate money to intelligence, because look at Elon Musk. I would say Donald Trump, but we have no idea what he's worth. I'm thinking $5.75, but I could be wrong. I've yet to be wrong about Donald Trump, but I could be wrong. I could be. And most notably, look at Clarence Thomas, not the sharpest knife on the block, but you know. Oh, you know, I come with a lot of different coffees. You know, I'm going to have a bag of coffee. Yes. And some highly infused tea. Because I figure the fire is already down there. We can brew it up. Now, nothing says out of touch than a man who refers to his wife as mommy and cannot make a move without her, and who caused a whole epidemic of AIDS within the state that he was formerly the governor of, and doesn't have the ball sack to stand up to his former boss. Speaking on the educational system and race, all in one swoop, because why would we stick to something we actually know about? Oh, that's right. He doesn't know anything. That's why he's named after a sixpence. But let's roll it.
Am I understanding you saying there in that answer that you do not believe there is racial inequity in the education system in America?
I really don't believe there is. I believe there was. I mean, there may have been a time when affirmative action was necessary, simply to open the doors of all of our schools and universities. But I think that time has passed, and we'll continue to move forward as a colorblind society.
There was a time when it was necessary, but we've moved on to a colorblind society. If we moved on to a colorblind society, why are all of the lawsuits regarding affirmative action and now racially based, minority targeted scholarships to ensure equity at the collegiate level now under litigation if we're colorblind? If we're colorblind, why were so many conservatives so in a bunch just 2 weeks ago regarding Juneteenth? If it's so unnecessary for us to have things in place, why do companies have to have a whole division dedicated to diversity, equity, and inclusion? Why have there only been 3 Black people nominated, vetted, and seated onto the Supreme Court? Why is our current Madam Vice President receiving such vitriol for the color of her skin? Not the content of her character, not the depth and weight of her resume. Must be nice to be in that fantasy land of cis white male pseudo pretendian Christian, pretendian straight land. Interesting. Now, before we move forward, because I do need to update you all on the American con man living abroad who faked his own death to escape rape charges, amongst other things. And this is just the debacle just keeps getting worse. So I'm going to keep covering this because this is now my telenovela. Now we know about Ocean Gate's Titan, that submersible that went down and the septic tank of See You Later. Did y'all know at the same time there was another submersible? I didn't either. Take a look.
Not me finding out that there was another deep sea craft exploring the bottom of the ocean at the same time that we were hearing about everything going on with the Titan submersible. Yeah, and it was on a $1.5 million expedition. But this one wasn't looking for the Titanic. This one was looking for a UFO that fell from outer space into the ocean in 2014. You can't make this stuff up. And I want to tell you what they found on this very expensive mission. But first, what are we doing here? Why is everyone at the bottom of the ocean all of a sudden? I guess now we're searching for UFOs, or I should say USOs. Because correct me if I'm wrong, but I believe USO stands for Unidentified Submerged Object. Yeah, that's a thing. Although when speaking of USOs, I believe people use it to refer to UFOs that like dip in and out of the water or come out of the water or something like that. So this might be a little bit different. This whole expedition is being led by Harvard astrophysicist Avi Loeb. Him and his team are looking for debris of a meteor that fell into the ocean in 2014. But they don't believe that it was a meteor. No, they think that it was a UFO that crashed into the ocean. In particular, one that fell into the waters off the coast of Papua New Guinea, about 50 miles off the coast. Avi has a boat, a team, and some underwater sleds. Sleds like this one you see here. The sled is mounted with magnets, cameras, and lights. And apparently something to pick stuff up off of the bottom of the ocean floor. And they are searching 1.7 kilometers down, which is a little bit over a mile. Apparently when this object crashed into the ocean in 2014, it was too fast to be bound to the sun. His words, not mine. And he said it was made of something stronger than iron. And guess what? They found it. Or at least like a little piece of it, and he's holding it right there. On their mission that is still ongoing from what I understand at this point, they found small metallic wires and small little spheres. These spheres are made of magnesium, iron, and titanium, but no nickel. And apparently that's significant because it resembles human-made alloys. But they're looking for a bigger piece. I'm assuming they want to find something like this down there? And he says he believes this is the first time that humans are putting their hands on interstellar material. Why would you touch that? I don't know, you guys. I don't know. Let me know what you think about all this because I'm done. Okay, bye.
Y'all know I'm a huge Star Wars fan. I read comic books just about as much as I read history books, etc. But no, everybody stop trying to be Indiana Jones. Indiana already had the Last Crusade. Did y'all not catch? Last Crusade. Stop touching stuff. Stop trying to touch stuff. Stop. You don't need, no, okay? Explore what your kids are doing because we tired of them shooting up schools. Explore what Mima and Papa are doing. Explore what your wife is doing with the tantric guru in the back room. Explore some taxes. See, this is what don't let me get rich. Don't let me get rich. Okay. Don't give me a couple $1 billion. Because first of all, I'm eliminating everybody's student debt. Okay. Because y'all need some money to just woosah. Then I'm gonna buy Puerto Rico and then just hand it over to the Puerto Rican people. Like, here, you're no longer a colony. Then I'm gonna find a collection of islands. And I'm gonna buy up all the little empty houses here, homeless people. Here you go. But I'm gonna buy a collection of islands, and everybody that is fed up with this ghetto hellscape cesspool, crabs in the bucket ass nation. Let's go. We can make our own rules over there. I think we will be fine. Okay, we will have snacks. We will have coffee. We'll have all of that. Okay, just think about it. Nice tropical weather, some good barbecue and barbacoa, some nice music. We can determine who can come and visit us. Ugh. And we ain't even got to hold elections because we all gonna be ready to just mind our own business. We ain't gonna bother each other. Don't give me no money. Don't. This is why we don't trust white people votes. This is why we don't trust white people votes. You're so privileged that you're so bored that you do. And a UFO just stands for unidentified flying object. It doesn't necessarily mean that it's extraterrestrial. It just means when you look at it, you can't tell what it is. Unidentified, and it's flying. What if you find out that Jimmy's drone from Christmas 2022 is what you spent millions of dollars to scour the bottom of the ocean to retrieve? Did you think of it? Well, y'all keep my therapist employed. I guess that's a plus. Y'all definitely keep my therapist employed. No. Yes, okay. Every rich woman. They all seem to know a tantric guru that they just tell their husbands, "No, honey, he just works the kinks out." I bet he does. Cuz you like 27 and your husband is 167. You just forgot that he got 700 kids that are older than you. Why you think he made you sign that prenup? Did you learn nothing from Anna Nicole Smith? Hmm? Hmm. And even after she died, his damn kids was still trying to fight Anna's estate. Like, don't give her any money. She dead. She dead. What? She dead. Your daddy like big booby strippers. Get over it. He was old and creepy and nasty. I ain't shit. I ain't shit. It is a good thing my daddy and stepmother are not technologically advanced, and I've bribed my siblings, and I refuse to show them this channel. But let's take a pause for the cause, and then we're gonna come back and talk about the worst real life Catch Me If You Can movie adaptation, but in real life. Go refill your drinks, grab some more snacks. Here we go.
I don't dance, I just float, 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 float. I don't dance, I just float, 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 float. I just float. I'm light as a feather, I'm light as a feather, yeah, baby, I float. It's hard to look at my resume and not find a reason to toast. She throwing that thing in a circle, making it viral, I might just elope. Say, listen.
I never thought I'd see a tie for Karen of the Year award, but in fucking 2023 it looks like 3 people are gunning neck and neck for the spot of the most unbearable human being in this country. Starting with these 2 dapper incels who somehow managed to successfully sue the Biden administration to prevent the government from helping students pay off their college loans. Yeah, that's fucking right. Every decade or so, when we figure out a way to stop the government from giving billionaires handouts and start helping us out, these 2 cucks were like, nah, fuck that, that's really un-American. Our first nominee is Alexander Taylor, who was pissed off that he was only eligible for 10 out of the 20K in student loan forgiveness because his family wasn't poor enough to use Pell Grants while he was attending. So instead of being grateful for the 10 free bands, he's like, nah, fuck this, nobody's getting anything. Then we got Myra fucking fuck. Our next nominee is Myra Brown, whose parents were too rich for her to apply for a federally subsidized college loan for a Photoshop certificate at ITT. So what did she do? Yeah, she just took out a private loan. You know, the kind that has nothing to do with higher education. And then fast forward like 5 or 6 years later when she finds out her shit isn't covered, she's like, nah, fuck you kids, you guys need rich parents too. But that's not even the icing on the cake. Did you know Myra runs her own home business? Yeah, she makes signs leveraging all those overpriced Photoshop skills she picked up. And yeah, they're probably not doing too well based on the reviews on Yelp. But because of COVID, she was able to take out $50K in PPP to cover the one employee working at Desert Star Enterprises. Her fucking self. And last but not least, a fucking late nominee into 2023 is Lori Smith, a supposed web designer who says anti-discrimination laws in Colorado are forcing her to make wedding websites for a gay man named Stuart. Except we called Stuart that was named in her lawsuit, and it turns out this guy is married with kids for 15 years, and he's like, I've never heard of the lady. So just to fucking reiterate, this bitch was such a big ass Karen that she imagined a scenario that she would actually have to figure out a way to do something for someone that she didn't like, and she wanted an excuse to be able to discriminate against them, even though they never fucking met her.
We're gonna get into the Colorado. We're gonna get into the 303 Karen a little bit more later, because with all of the wedding planning websites that give you access to putting forth free wedding websites, and if you did know, Senator Josh Hawley, that's to kiss his wife. It was his wife that litigated the case. But notice how she's not making the rounds on TV with Little Miss 303. Want to know how we all found out? Well, I read court transcripts because I'm me. But Senator Hawley proudly declared it on Twitter. I told y'all. If you think I don't see it, I see it. I just don't always say anything about it. Because sometimes you just got to see it through. Speaking of which, the story that just keeps on giving, it shouldn't be funny. It shouldn't be funny, but it is. If you've ever seen like Mr. Bean or any of the Shaun of the Dead like type series, this is this in real life. This is like if Wish.com made the movie The Fugitive. We're to the extradition trial. This man went from pretending to pass out on camera to fighting with police, to fighting with prison guards, to then his attorneys giving up going, yeah, he faked it all, but he's crazy. He'll do better here than in America, where he should be tried for sexually assaulting a woman. I present to you part like 37 of my current telenovela.
The extradition hearing of Nicholas Rossi has finally begun. Yes, Nicholas Rossi, the American con man who is wanted for multiple instances of sexual assault in the United States, who then faked his death and fled to the UK where he set up shop as Arthur Knight, is finally getting his day in court. And what a shit show it already is. First, Arthur Knight, and we will be referring to him as Arthur Knight because he claims that he is Arthur Knight and not Nicholas Rossi, showed up in court wearing these robes, which upset the judge. You see, the judge thought that Arthur was making fun of the court by wearing judge's robes. But no, old Arthur converted to Orthodox Judaism while in prison, and this is his formal religious dress. Okay, Arthur's defense attorney, Mungo Bovey, I guess that's a Scottish name. Either that or Arthur insisted that his lawyer have an equally ridiculous made-up name. Good old Mungo tried to argue that the whole case needed to be thrown out because Arthur is wanted for questioning in a rape trial down in England. To which the judge ruled that, hey, we don't know if he's going to get charged in that, so we're just going to move forward with this whole extradition thing until we get information otherwise. Then Arthur tried to argue that he was never served crucial National Crime Agency documents, which I guess are like a combination of charging document and Miranda rights. But the police constable who served him the documents in the hospital said, no, I gave them to you, you refused to take them, so I put them on your bed and told you to sign them, and you refused to sign them. And then I wrote a receipt out saying that I had given them to you, and you refused to sign that. And then I wrote all of this in my log to show that gave them to you, you didn't sign it, but you were definitely served. And Arthur was like, well, I guess it's your word against mine. I don't know how the judge felt about that, but I can guess. Stay tuned for day 2. Day 2 in the Nicholas Rossi, aka Arthur Knight, extradition trial. Let's get into it. Defense attorney Mungo tried to have the hearing dismissed again, this time arguing that Knight was not brought before the sheriff in sufficient enough time, and also that he was not processed at the police station in the traditional way. Now keep in mind that Arthur Knight was caught at the hospital, where he was sick with COVID-19. And described by hospital staff as the sickest person in the entire hospital. So no, I don't expect these arguments to go over very well with the judge. Oh, and Arthur Knight showed up 4 hours late for court today, because of transportation issues with the van that was taking him from the prison to the courthouse. I'm not sure if this is because the van broke or the van couldn't accommodate the electric wheelchair that Arthur Knight doesn't actually need, or if he simply was going, oh no, this won't do at all, and refused to get in the van. And when he did finally show up at the courthouse, his defense attorney, Mungo, tried to get the courtroom sealed from the press and the public. He claimed he was trying to protect his client's privacy because they were going to discuss the sensitive topic of his many psychological issues. The judge said, yeah, no. After failing that, Mungo tried to argue that because of his client's many psychological issues, he was not going to be able to get sufficient treatment in the United States if he was extradited. And for real, hats off to Mungo for literally throwing every single thing against the wall, hoping something will stick, and to try to keep your client from getting extradited. A court psychologist who had previously interviewed Knight said that Knight appeared pleasant and engaging, but also teared up wistfully when speaking of his beloved wife, Miranda. The court shrink said, oh yeah, this guy definitely has psychological issues, but crazy? No, he's just playing crazy so that we don't send him back to the USA. Because duh. He also said that the US prison healthcare system would be just as capable of treating Knight as the UK system would. Yeah, they really want this guy off their hands and into the US prison system. Like I said, the van was 4 hours late today, so it was a short court day. More updates in day 3. There's been an update in the strange and sordid tale of Arthur Knight, aka Nicholas Rossi, aka Nicholas a la Verdian. Now, I have been obsessed with this man ever since first learning of him, and if you need a refresher, Nicholas Rossi is an American con man and serial rapist, and when it looked like he was about to get caught in the United States, faked his own death and fled to the United Kingdom. At which point he adopted an obviously fake English accent and an equally obviously fake English name, Arthur Knight. And when he contracted COVID and had to be hospitalized, Interpol was able to determine from his fingerprints and arm tattoos that it was the same guy they'd been looking for months. Arthur Knight claims it's a case of mistaken identity, an elaborate conspiracy to frame him. And the United States has been, hey, give us back our boy because we'd really love to send him to prison. And he was supposed to be extradited back in November of 2022, but he has been fighting that extradition through a series of cunning ploys. First and foremost is that he is claiming significant health problems, appearing in public in this wheelchair and with a completely fake costume oxygen mask. His defense attorneys have also failed to file the correct paperwork, resulting in further delays to his extradition hearing. He made a series of challenges based on the conditions of his confinement here, and when those fell on deaf ears, assaulted a prison guard. The consequences of which meant the courts had to deal with that crime before they could get to extradition. But as much as he is trying to delay, after 7 months, today is his day in court, and here in Edinburgh, he is finally facing his extradition hearing. Oh, but there's a catch. You see, apparently, after he left the United States, but before he arrived here in Scotland, he was down in England, where he raped a woman. And he's wanted for questioning down there in relation to that. So after the court here presumably decides to kick his ass out of Scotland, he's going to have to go to Essex before he finally goes back to the USA to face some hard time. Also, I do not care for how similar I look to Nicholas in this photo right here. I think it's time for a haircut and maybe some new frames. Anyway, check in later. I will absolutely have another update for you once his extradition hearing is over and the verdict sending his ass out of the country is confirmed.
Now, for those new to the story, excuse me, yes, after he fled to the UK, he didn't lay low. He did not lay low. He would put on these lavish smoking jackets and all this stuff in his little wheelchair with his ever-changing oxygen mask, because sometimes he would use a nebulizer mask, which does nothing when connected to an oxygen tank, and hit the pubs. and be boisterous and claim to be a professor and all these things. And then he got a wife who I believe is in on the grift. And I think she's just waiting for everything to fold so she can do a tell-all, but I don't know if charges can be brought against her in the UK. Now, he was examined by a physician that said he does not have the legs of anyone who would be paralyzed. He's not a paraplegic. He has gotten out of the chair to whoop up on prison guards. He is trying to have the Vincent Gigante, my apologies if I mispronounced it, defense. If you're not familiar with Vincent, he was a mob boss who played crazy in order to evade imprisonment. But you know it's bad when your attorneys give up defending you and are like, yeah, he did it. He did all of this and more. He's just too crazy for US prisons. No. 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 And when I tell each nugget of information just gets crazier and crazier, because Mr. Arthur Knight, King Arthur, Knights of the Round Table, had a whole list of even worse names to choose from when he was trying to revamp his identity. I agree. And I believe that as he's rolling in, they should take a compilation of all the videos regarding his case and play them for the inmates. One, interrupting what the inmates normally want to watch, and two, informing them of what he's done. Because he's about as smart as a Republican woman in Florida. Oh, speaking of a Republican woman in Florida, all of these, it doesn't affect me. It doesn't affect me. I don't need to fight. Like, we need to unite as women. It'll be okay. The other night, I brought to you all that DeSantis, as he usually does in the wee hours of the night, without telling anybody first, eliminated permanent alimony. Yeah, the women who voted for him, they're not taking too kindly for it. Now, I don't have any sympathy for him, because I'm like, you've been aligning yourself with the patriarchy for far too long, and you separated yourself from men who staunchly believe and benefit from the patriarchy, that once you escape, you still decided to vote against your best interest. Well, you get what you get, honey boo boo. So skip to Malou, my darling. But take a look. Oh, are they throwing a fit? That's all they're going to do is throw a fit. We know that. Oh, they will have a few protests where they dress up and make a few signs and then go have brunch afterwards.
This is a death sentence for me, sobs Republican woman who voted for DeSantis stripping away her permanent alimony. Ron DeSantis draws outcry from women's groups as he ends permanent alimony in Florida. It's just like, this is what happens when you vote against your own interest. Women all across Florida fucked around. Now they're finding out. Sucks to suck.
This is why when I get the argument of, well, my family didn't benefit from slavery, my family didn't own slaves. Did your family work on the plantation? Because I'm pretty sure they were either the overseer or the cracker. And if they didn't do any of those things, they didn't vote against it. They didn't protest against it. They just had their head down and said, well, that's just how it goes. That's the status quo. Just like what's happening now. And how much you want to bet all of these women who are former child brides, who have no discernible skills because they were never allowed to enter the workforce. And we know how hard it is when you have a small gap in your employment, let alone decades. Women who are parenting disabled children and adult children, where they were financially abused, and that's why they got the court order for permanent alimony. Women who were forced into giving birth, forced into giving up their careers, and now it's too late because they would have to go back to school, which they don't have the money to go back to school on because that alimony isn't going to pay tuition to be able to get back into those career fields. Because getting your nursing degree in 1979, 1989, 1999, 2001 means nothing today in 2023. Do you have any idea how much medicine changes on a week to week? This is why journals exist, medical journals. But yeah, keep sitting back thinking all this legislation that you believe is targeted at those that you have grown to hate, that have done nothing to you, will not affect you. See, they've gone past just cementing over community swimming pools where you could no longer take your children. They've gone past monetizing what used to be a public park, which is now considered an amusement park, and is going to cost you about 1 month's rent to take you and your family to and have a mediocre time. They've gone past putting up little walls and barriers to keep folks from walking in and out of neighborhoods, but you needed that shortcut in order to get your kids to school in time, or in order for you to get to work on time. Now you got to go all the way around the neighborhood to go a block over. And that monstrosity cuts down on your property value. Now they've moved into your womb. They've moved into your chances of sustaining gainful employment and productive and useful education. And now they're taking away your pocketbooks. And they're working on making you be forced into marriage and staying in that marriage. And keep in mind, those laws that were on the books, well, those laws on the books, saying that if you're married to a man in certain places, he could just take you to the courthouse steps and whoop your ass. Y'all do know they never removed them, right? See, they call them antiquated laws and go, well, you know, we don't really enforce them. Yes, they do. Yes, they do. They enforce them at will, just like they employ you at will in certain places. But that's not the only thing DeSantis has been up to, because this ad is Ronnie Ron. Is there something you need to tell us? I know we're past Pride Month, but this is a safe space. Generally not for you, but I'm trying to be benevolent, okay? I need my, 3 JC, Jesus Christ points a month to make sure I can take all the snacks I need down to hell. Just take a look.
So because there was such an overwhelming demand to see this Ron DeSantis video, I'm going to share it here. And I'm going to pause in between to give you some of my commentary so we can enjoy it together.
I'll do everything in my power to protect our LGBTQ citizens.
If Caitlyn Jenner were to walk into Trump Tower and want to use the bathroom, you would be fine with her using any bathroom she chooses.
That is correct.
In the future, can transgender women compete in this universe?
Yes.
Make America great again.
First off, who made this? Who is the mastermind of digital creativity that put this together? I'm gonna need the name of your graphic designer. 5 stars. If by 5 stars you mean some incel sitting in his mom's back bedroom, making DeSantis fan art. But just when you think it couldn't possibly get any worse, it gets 8 million times worse. Who's that guy? Hold the fucking phone. That was Patrick Bateman. Why is Ron DeSantis comparing himself to a serial killer from American Psycho? I have so many questions. What is with the muscle man? What is with that half-naked chiseled? What? And why is Peaky Blinders in it? I feel like I'm watching Zoolander, where he's getting programmed to kill the Malaysian guy. Am I the only one taking these crazy pills right now?
Really has shut down drag. Just produced some of the harshest, most draconian laws that literally threaten trans existence. Congratulations, Ron DeSantis. Mission accomplished. You win.
Wait, Ron DeSantis has a fake time cover too? I guess Little Dictator has to be just like the Big Dictator, right? Why? But why? The last muscle man, though? Was he naked? I got nothing. I feel like somebody on DeSantis' team is trolling him. Because this is just... It's a chef's kiss.
As a queer individual, that made me need a shower. I feel like he was supposed to be putting in a request on the Fiverr app, but he put in the request on Grindr. And somebody was like, bet, boo, I got you. Because that was the cringiest self-own I've ever seen. Ronnie, discount socially awkward Ronnie McDonald. Please just sashay Shantae your ass out the closet, please. Because you got your wife out here looking like millipede eyebrow Barbie. We know that you're a Disney adult and you're mad that, they just won't let you frolic in Cinderella's ball gown through the park. And you're the only person I know that's gone in reverse with their career. Like, this is not a line dance. Reverse. Like, you were in Congress and then became a governor. And now you want to get into the... That's like a former boss of mine who fucked up the business so bad and tried to do me so dirty and ended up being the employee of her former assistant, then trying to make me an offer for my business. Boo-boo skadoo. That's not how this works. That's not how any of this works. And then you took clips of people not agreeing with you in a manner that even your sycophants couldn't believe that this was a pat on the... I've seen T-girl ads that weren't this in your face. And I've been to quite a few T-girl events. And the ads can be very... grab your attention. Because it is a very adult event. And they want you to be prepared for what you're going to see. And if y'all have never been to a T-girl party, think burlesque meets Sausage Party, the movie. Minus the coitus, unless you pay extra to go in the back. Okay. Yeah, this is why I use Chasing Oz's video, because I always have the words, but I don't. Let's go back to the 303 case. Yeah, let's do that. And cousin, I know you watching. Don't snitch.
Ooh, you guys, guess what? Yes! Arizona Attorney General just told the Supreme Court to go fuck themselves! Arizona has a law on the books just like Colorado. It says, simply put, the business open to the public cannot discriminate against gay people. Period, hands down. Arizona Attorney General Chris Mays announced that she would enforce the law on the books anyways, despite the Supreme Court ruling. Finally! Despite today's ruling, Arizona law prohibits discrimination in places of public accommodation, including discrimination because of sexual orientation and gender identity. If any Arizona believes that they have been the victim of discrimination on the basis of race, color, religion, sex, including sexual orientation and gender identity, national origin, or ancestry in a place of public accommodation, they should file a claim with my office. I will continue to enforce Arizona's public accommodation law to its fullest extent. Fuck you, Justice Roberts, and your goddamn illegitimate Supreme Court. And thank you, Arizona. So I don't know if you listened to the actual oral arguments in the 303 Colorado case, but Justice Alito had some really big tells. He raised the Fox News specter of Black Santa, children dressed as KKK. He insinuated that Kagan had an Ashley Madison account, and he also used the Fox News talking points of re-education camps. Those were her arguments in favor of the website designer. So much so that when the lawyer for the website designer was directly asked how this ruling could actually affect people who are religious that don't want to marry interracial couples, she said that's an edge case. Are y'all getting it now? Less than 24 hours. Less than 24 hours after the Supreme Court signaled that they can be weaponized to work with the conservatives. They have no shame in pressing the Christian nationalist agenda. Less than 24 hours after the affirmative action case, Republicans have already moved on to minority grant scholarships. Republicans in Wisconsin are using the ruling in the Supreme Court to now go after minority undergraduate grants. They're coming for everything. They're not going to stop. The Supreme Court has given them the green light.
Told you. Remember I said. Now you heard the arguments that were argued. And remember who litigated the case. On the side of Little Miss 303. That was the wife of Senator Josh Hawley. Mr. In the closet himself, Mr. I can't even hide that I don't like the women's because he kisses his wife like this. And wrote a book about manhood. But rest assured, right now, legally, we're in a period of rehearing. Because in case you missed my show the other night, one of the men does not exist at all. The other man that was listed is a straight married man with children who is a web designer, and catch this, worked with Hillary Clinton during her presidential campaign. And remember, when you're getting married, there are a plethora of wedding planning sites that give you websites for free. And Miss 303 claimed that she already had clients within the LGBTQIA+ community. She just didn't want to do wedding websites for them. Who the fuck is paying for a wedding website? And if you're already taking our gay ass, queer ass, trans ass money, what difference does it make? And her designs are below basic. Even what I design for people that they want to be able to maintain themselves are not as basic as what she does. At the end of last year, for a close friend of mine's sister, I put together a book, website for her book. Speaking of which, let me write down to get her on the show. Y'all would love her book of poetry. I'm gonna call her in the morning. But honey child, shenanigans are afoot. They have taken creating scenarios in their head and bombarding the rest of us in real life and predominantly on social media to taking it to the court. And the court's like, yeah, this makes sense. It goes along with all the QAnon stuff that I'm paid to believe in. I'm starting to believe now. You see that, George? You see that, George? George, we gotta do it. We gotta do it. Lenny, that doesn't make any sense. It makes no sense, Lenny. Is that really what you want to do? Come on, George. Makes good sense. Makes good sense. Throw me the ball. I love a good Of Mice and Men reference. But yeah, they... Once again, I'm going to say this until it sinks in. It does not matter the level of election. Vote in it. Vote in it. Yes, the Senate handles the confirmation hearings, but we need more than confirmation hearings. We need a majority within the House that is not conservative and not Republican, and not these wishy-washy that I'm a fake it till I make it dinos, Democratic in name only, that are winning elections and then a couple months in, I changed my mind. Whoopsie doodle, I'm really Republican. Oopsie doodle, I'm really independent. But I'm going to vote Republican and conservative because we don't have to expand the Supreme Court, which would be great because we do need more diversity on the Supreme Court. We can impeach the illegitimate associate justices that are on the Supreme Court right now. But just like any impeachment process, it starts in the House, moves to the Senate. And you have to stop allowing them to take over your school boards. Because I'm pretty sure you don't want dumb as dog shit children. And I need people to stop just looking at today and next week. One of the most important lessons I learned from my papa, God continue to rest his soul. Because he said, even after his grandchildren were grown, even after his children were grown, he still voted in his best interest. He voted in favor of school levies and things like that because he said, if we don't do it, who's going to be our next doctors? If you don't care about anything else, who's going to be your next set of doctors? Who's going to be your next set of nurses? Who's going to be your next set of teachers, professors, EMTs, firemen, policemen, the people that you come in contact with every day? We're not going to get into the people that you rarely come in contact with. Just those right there. Who are they going to be? We're going to turn into a society. We're just like right now, Kirsten Sinema is trying to have all the blood on her hands by reducing the amount of training that commercial pilots need in order to fly you from place to place. Do you know how detrimental that will be? Now imagine when we don't have the scores for potential doctors to get into college, to get medical training, how much they're going to have to lower the criteria and how much that's going to affect you. Do you want to go back to the days that a broken leg means a death sentence? Because cutting out education goes further than just convincing somebody to vote in your way. It goes further than just trying to create additional bigots. This is why white supremacy doesn't just hurt the marginalized. It does not just hurt the melanated. Because we all have to live in this society together. Like it, love it, skip it, or jump it. Because it's bad enough you have gate agents that think the District of Columbia is a different country, that don't realize New Mexico is within the United States. It's bad enough you have clerk of courts that don't understand that Puerto Rico is part of the United States. Imagine when that gets more fervent, because the education just keeps, with all this advancement, all this technology. Imagine one day being taken out by the common cold because the person assigned to take care of you was never properly educated, and society has been convinced that pseudoscience and MLM products are the way to go. Imagine an uptick in measles, mumps, rubella. Imagine yellow fever making a comeback because everybody's been convinced through new education that vaccinations are bad. We can just have herd immunity. Where was that herd immunity during the yellow fever outbreak and the Black Death? We're going to go back to child labor and dropping out of school and child brides and highly increased morbidity rates for women, because the same subset of society wants to retain power. Nothing more, nothing less. They claim that today was meant to celebrate breaking off from the aristocracy to live under a system that's not aristocratic. But they've created their own aristocracy. What do you think socialites are? Why do you think they work overtime? To convince you to want what they have. That every company is a family and it's a family affair. Let's not forget that while JFK was in office, they referred to the White House as Camelot. But as always, thank you for joining me here for Talk About It Tuesdays on Conversations with Taz. As always, make sure you check out the links in the description of this video. And today's blog post, I think you all will find especially entertaining, especially if you follow me on TikTok. It is an extension of the anti-racism journey that I already put out. So like I said, I connect everything together. And tomorrow, your favorite resident Ginger will be back. And we're going to talk about studying while Black, a cracked roller coaster. We're going to explain the Trump documents and affirmative action and athlete recruitment and so much more. And if you enjoyed this podcast, bring a friend with you next time. As always, each one teach one, each one reach one. Till tomorrow, enjoy this final video.
What is wrong with the Republican Party? This Republican put out this poll on Twitter in which over 65,000 people voted in, so it's not an insignificant amount of people. And he asked, would you rather have your son be in the, can't even say that, or be in the LGBTQ+? And 75% of voters, which are overwhelmingly on the right, said the first option. To all of the people who voted in this, or if you agree with the results, genuinely, what's wrong with you? We've gotten to the point where Republicans would rather accept terrible racism than have someone in their family just be who they are. Yeah, I'm just truly at a loss for words.